в этом году очень
Our main aim in this championship was a team victory, and for the first time, our team included 3 highly trained
в истории
pilots.
было 3 максимально хорошо подготовленных пилота.
The participants of the championship were competing in initially unequal conditions. The Russian team was half the size of their strongest opponents. The Russian national team included 4 pilots. Marat Garifzanov, with his aircraft model, the Hawk T Mk1 in the 20 kilograms class, a debutant to the Jet World Masters Championship. In the 20 kilogram class, Vasily Eichner, holder of the Russian Youth Championship. This would be his first time taking part in the competition, entering a Yak 130 model in the 20 kilograms class. Pavel Lopshov, winner of the previous Jet World Masters Championship in the 13.5 kilograms class. His aircraft model, a Yak 130. Vitaly Robertus, 3-time champion of the Jet World Masters class in the 20 kilograms class. His aircraft model, a MiG-29. Vitaly Robertus won the previous 3 championships with a Yak 130 model. High accuracy of reproduction of the prototype and the application of view, unique technologies in aero modeling made the Yak 130 the leader in static assessment. Meanwhile, due to revision of IJMC rules and requirements for detailed elaboration, the level of unsurpassed accuracy of the Yak is gradually losing its distinction with each passing championship. In order to maintain the lead, it became necessary to have the model surpass the rest in all aspects, particularly in flight characteristics. To create a new model, 4 variants of the prototype were considered: the MiG-AT, the Su-27 and the Su-25, and the MiG-29. Taking into account the complex requirements while choosing the prototype, the most suitable sample turned out to be the MiG-29 from the well-known Russian aerobatic flight group, Strizhy. The Strizhy aerobatic team was first created in 1991 at the Kubinka Air Base within the Moscow region and remains associated with the Russian Air Force. The aviation part consists of MiG-29 and MiG-29UB fighters. The group performs demonstration flights with 6 planes. We have chosen the MiG-29 by the combination of many factors, and first of all, availability of the prototype. Good and old relations with Kubinka Air Base allowed us to get a lot of information about the plane and good conditions for training at the airdrome. Moreover, the MiG-29 is a plane with excellent flight characteristics and one of the most beautiful planes in the world and in the history of aircraft in general. It is a well-known fact that in accordance with the laws of aerodynamics, the larger that the model of a plane is, the closer to the original it is, as far as its behavior during flight is concerned. But the range of scales of the model for IJMC competitions is limited by the maximum weight. In other words, with the smaller prototype, a bigger scale may be chosen in the course of construction of the model. The scale chosen for the model, 1 to 4.75, allowed the use of some parts and elements of the structure which are present on my model Yak 130 in the 13.5 kilogram class. The MiG-29 is the best in its class. It is a twin-engine, 2-fin supersonic plane with an integrated airframe circuit. In the course of creating the MiG-29 model, all the aerofoil and aerodynamic twists have been duplicated. The logic of operation and aerodynamics of the prototype, with all flying tail, 2-section leading edges, flaps, and other controllers, were also implemented. The design and configuration of the MiG-29 fighter is essentially different to the Yak 130, and a number of difficult engineering problems were solved in the course of the model design. Exact reproduction of the prototype was complicated by both the intricacy of some units of the structure, as well as the requirement to establish the subtle but obvious effects of weathering, those traces of long-term operation on the aircraft's skin whose details score extra static points in the competition. Many new ideas and technologies were implemented during creation of the model of the MiG-29. Among those were adjustable nozzles on the engines with internal and external circuits that imitate 96 carbon fiber, or CFRP, shutters with unique dynamics of operations. Gear legs were made entirely of CFRP, with two-level shock absorbers, including an electric drive and the mechanism for pulling up the nose wheel. Wheel discs are also CFRP, with pneumatic disc brakes and a unique volume design of filling the wheels. All equipment in the undercarriage bays is reproduced, and 9 shutters as well as the landing lights are fully functional. As on the prototype, the axle air inlets are automatically closed at takeoff and landing, and the top shutters open or close simultaneously. The dynamics and detailed design of the air brake are faithfully reproduced. New type fuel systems, which are independent for every engine, contribute to reliable operation of the power plant in any mode of flight, without requiring the involvement of feeder tanks. Landing of the model can be accompanied by deployment of a brake parachute, releasing it toward the end of the rollout. All weathering, the effects of aging and traces of operation, as well as the details of the structure of the surface, are meticulously reproduced on the skin of the model. A fully detailed cockpit with an animated pilot and an opening canopy, the cockpit of the model has no visual differences to the cockpit of the prototype. I have not found any difference between the cockpit of the model and the one of the prototype. It seems to me that the only difference is their size. The MiG-29 model has 2 JetCat P100 engines with a combined thrust of 19 kilograms. Such power plants provide safe continuation of the flight even if one of the engines stops. The first tests confirm superiority of the MiG-29 by many indicators. Preparation of the flight program for the competition was distinguished by an original approach to the piloting technique, for the best representation of behavior of the prototype during the flight, and for exact reproduction of flight figures on the model. Vitaly Robertus completed some flights in the MiG-29 UV fighter specially. During these flights, the full complex of aerobatics was made, including the elements of the flight program to be performed on the MiG-29 model. This is one more unique feature of the MiG-29 Rusjet project.
В этот раз мы решили использовать необычный подход.
This time, we decided to compare the MiG-29 with the model in an unusual way, in order to achieve the best result in piloting the model and the enhanced realness of the flight in the competition. The MiG-29 is an excellent and easily piloted model.
Одним из самых лучших в своем классе. Пилотируется очень легко.
Finland, August 2017. The Aerodrome Complex in picturesque Jämijärvi. The 12th Jet World Masters Championship. The aerodrome provided for the championship consisting of 2 runways. One runway, with a 270-degree bearing, was designated for full-size aircraft traffic. The other one, with 150-degree bearing, for the model aircraft. This aerodrome was characterized by gusting wind from unpredictable directions. And, unlike the big runway, the wind on the aero modeling runway was almost always lateral. The team from Russia was the first to arrive and started preparation for practice flights immediately. Soon, other participants of the championship joined the Russian national team. The strongly gusting crosswinds complicated practice considerably, and not all pilots dared to risk the integrity of their models. At the same time, everybody had to be prepared for adverse weather conditions in the forthcoming flight rounds. Intensive practice continued until sunset. The hangar was gradually filling up with models participating in the championship. Many models had been presented at previous competitions. Mostly, there were those assembled from commercial sets and essentially upgraded. The Swiss team had improved the copy gear of the Hunter models considerably. The Finnish team showed good execution of the Hawk representation. Pilots from France presented interesting models too, copies of the Alpha Jet and F-104 planes. As in previous championships, Rusjet team models were the center of special attention. It was obvious that the Yak-130 model was still unsurpassed. Only Vitaly Robertus's MiG could be better than this one. Unlike static assessment, the results of flight rounds are unpredictable, even in cases with the most skilled pilots. Power plant are the most common during flight, and far from every pilot is capable of completing a flight safely if thrust is lost. During Marat Garifzanov's practice flight, the engine stopped. This time, no damage was sustained during the emergency landing. Engine failure repeated in another flight had close to serious consequences, and not only for the model. It happened on the eve of static judging, where the appearance of the model is expected to be perfect. There was almost no time for repair. Work on restoring the model to its initial condition went on all night long. By morning, the model was returned to airworthy condition, and the last traces of damage were erased. As far as static assessment indicators were concerned, the Rusjet team took the highest points in both classes. Though taking the new rules into account, even maximum copy marks would not ensure any considerable lead in comparison with main competitors. Unfortunately, many unique features of our team's models seem to go undiscerned.
You can see if we think the plane was flying too fast or too far away, or the landing was too fast or too slow. You'll be able to understand.
The first flight round started in cloudless conditions, but again, strongly gusting crosswinds considerably complicated piloting and made taking off and landing of the models quite unsafe. Wind gusts literally overturned some models while taking off or landing. Even the most skilled pilots were barely keeping their model within the confines of the runway. For one Chinese competitor, his struggle against the strong crosswind finished with an overshoot and landing far outside of the runway. Marat Garifstanov's struggle against the unpredictable wind ended with breaking a main gear leg during the first round in the course of a landing. After a successful performance during landing approach, Vitaly Robertus's Yak-130 crossed the boundary line. Being influenced by yet another strong gust of crosswind and his perfectly executed landing was not scored. Vitaly's lost points for landing left him in 15th place. Unfortunately, Vitaly Robertus finished the first round with a high score, occupying only 6th place. After the first round, German pilot Stephen Volker was at the top of the tournament table in the big class. In the small class, in the first 2 rounds, sudden problems occurred with one engine on Pavel Lopshov's Yak-130. The engine failure happened in the course of running. The time provided for his performance was coming to an end rapidly. After an engine restart, nevertheless, the Yak flew into the sky. During the remaining time, he could execute only a portion of the elements of the program and finished with an emergency landing at the last second. The first round resulted in the winner of the last championship, Pavel Lopshov, turning out to be in 12th position. It was not possible to complete the full-scale flight in the second round for the same technical reasons. This time, one of the engines stopped in flight, but Pavel was going to fulfill the task on one working engine. As a consequence of the increased fuel consumption, the second engine also stopped ahead of time. So, the second round ended for Pavel with an uncompleted program and an emergency landing. It was clear that Pavel was losing his champion's title when the points received for the 2 incomplete performances only lifted his position to the 10th row. At the time, the cause of the engine failures could still not be determined, and before the end of the championship, Pavel had 1 performance left in the final 3rd round. It was practically impossible to hope to get any prize-winning position under such circumstances. Nevertheless, Pavel did not give up the struggle. His only chance to change the situation would be an ideal flight without any technical failures. We had never had as many technical problems as this time, and not everything depended on us. It is sport, and we do all that we can. In the second round, Vitaly Robertus performed with good marks and improved the team result considerably. Vitaly Robertus finished the second round successfully. Following the results of the second round, Vitaly was the leader of the tournament table, having taken the lead over Stephen Volker. Pascal Thomas from the Swiss team, with his Hunter Mk58 model, was fighting for 3rd place at the podium. The results of the second round showed that the Russian team could hope to have a prize-winning position in the team rating, provided that all of their pilots would perform perfectly in the final. Marat Goristanov finished his performance in the third round. In his championship, he was in 24th place, but he received precious competitive experience. In the third round, Vasily Eichner managed to improve his total result, and he rose from 6th row to the 4th row. Unfortunately, to appear on the podium, Vasily lacked exactly those points which he had lost at landing approach in the first round.
Очень ровный, хороший, качественный полет. То есть вот видно, что Василий...
It was a very good, high-quality flight. We can see that Vasily established himself as a pilot. Our team is really happy, and we congratulate him.
Молодец, Василий, так держать.
Pavel Lapshov started the final round with unreal confidence, starting the engines and making the flight were in routine mode without any technical failures. With stable operation of both engines during the flight, during this performance, Pavel Lapshov showed all his skills. This time, his perfectly executed flight program ended with a routine landing. Pavel received the highest assessment for this flight, and his performance was deemed the best in the championship.
Ну, в общем-то, отлетал третий тур.
Finally, I succeeded in executing the full program, but it is a pity that the two previous flights were accompanied by technical problems.
Посмотрим на полетные очки.
Owing to his final burst, the winner of the last championship cup, Pavel Lapshov, became the silver prize winner, being slightly behind Swiss pilot Walter Gallweiler. Though, taking into account the serious technical problems in the earlier two rounds, this time, the silver medal for Pavel was more expensive than the gold one. The MiG-29 of the three-time world champion Vitaly Robertus was on the runway. Favorable weather conditions by the end of the day of the third round provided a good opportunity for a successful final performance.
Thank you very
Соревнования закончены, наша команда очень успешно выступила.
The competition's finished. In general, we performed well. I hope that the results will be good, and it is important to us that the team result will be high.
Хороший и личный, и в первую очередь командный.
So, the Russian national team wins in the team rating throughout the history of Jet World Masters competitions, for the first time leaving the strongest teams of Switzerland and Germany behind. Vitaly Robertus takes the Champions Cup in the big class again. It is the fourth successive victory, and this time it happens with the best model in all the history of Jet World Masters.